What's up, everyone? I have another late night update. It was a pretty significant day today. It's July 27th. It's about 1:14 a.m. and I seem to be able to only find time at night to do these things. It's when everyone's sleeping and it's quiet and I can relax and I can dig into the news and kind of digest what's been going on. So, as you know, I bought Bitcoin a few days ago as this pump started happening here, and it worked out pretty good. There was a couple of reasons I said in the video why I decided to do that, because I was going to buy Ethereum, but decided to change my mind. I'm glad I did. I mean, Ethereum doesn't look bad, but just Bitcoin just looked like it was going to keep going, or at least break through some major resistance, which it did. But this, I want to talk about this Winklevoss thing, the ETF that got denied by the SEC today. And what an ETF is, if you don't already know, it's short for exchange traded fund, and it's basically a basket of a particular asset. Let's say like a energy ETF would contain all energy stocks in it. And if you wanted to invest a certain amount of money into the energy sector, you can just buy one of these ETFs, with the thought being that it would be diversified already within it, and you wouldn't have to pay a money manager like you would have to do with a mutual fund, that you pay a commission to those guys. You can just throw the money at it that you want. You could put some in this ETF, some in another ETF that represents another sector, and you can diversify it yourself. So, but why it's so significant for Bitcoin is that, you and I, who already know how to buy Bitcoin, we know the process. There's a lot of people that just don't know how to do it. They don't have the technical know-how. They don't want to deal with it. And the exchange traded fund would allow them to invest in it very easily, just like any other ETF. So that's why it's significant. And the idea being that it was bring a lot more money into cryptocurrencies. So there is actually, the Winklevoss one is only one of many that proposals that are going in front of the SEC right now. So, and it was the first one that was dismissed. I think they applied before and it got denied, and then they reworded it and resubmitted it, and it got denied again today. And the reason why it got denied basically is, what they're saying is because they just didn't like the proposal from the Winklevoss twins is what it boiled down to. Is this the article here? This is the one. And the Winklevoss twins, they were early adopters or early investors in Bitcoin, and they're pretty famous for that, and they've gotten filthy rich. They were major cheerleaders for Bitcoin in the early days, and they have the exchange, Gemini Exchange, which is their baby, and the SEC didn't want these guys to have the first ETF. I guess they feel like their bank, their exchange is too new, so they're probably going to give better consideration to some of the more experienced proposals that are coming across their desk. So that's what I see happening. But what's really interesting is, if you look at the price, I mean, the news came out and the price fell, right? But did it get destroyed? No, it didn't. It fell a little bit, just like you would expect on any bad news. What this tells me is that the investors, the current investors in Bitcoin, not all these people up here that got washed out, but these people down here who are holding on, these guys are smarter than these guys that got washed out. They understand what this news is. They know what it means, and they know what it doesn't mean. And they didn't tank this price all the way back down to where it was. And if you're into Fibonacci, which I always do a Fibonacci retracement, and with Bitcoin I start at about 1,000 when it was $1,000, right about there. And if we bring this up all the way to the top of the candle, not the wick, which would be up here, but to the candle, you can see, if I let it go here, you can see that it broke through, and now it's serving as a bottom, this 618, which is a very significant number in the Fibonacci sequence, that's 618. So the reason, I gave you the reason why I think that it didn't fall, but it's funny how the Fibonacci sequence will tell you what it is, and you know what it is ahead of time, and it really doesn't matter the reason why. It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, which I always think is really cool. If you don't know about Fibonacci, I have a video on it. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check it out. It's really interesting how the numbers work out, and you find them in nature, and you find the numbers everywhere, and the markets are no different. So I do not think that all the FUD has been washed out of the market. I do think the price is going to fall. I don't think it's going to stay here. But what I think is going to happen is, I think this Fibonacci retracement number, the 618, is pretty significant. So what I think is most likely to happen is that this line here, this bottom, which would be the leg 2 of a hyperwave if you follow the hyperwave charting theory, I think that it will eventually go, I think it'll go sideways and catch up with that line before it takes off. I do not think it's going to drop anymore. This news of the Winklevoss twins ETF not passing or getting denied didn't tank the price by now, then I don't think any of the normal FUD that we see coming out in the news is going to affect the price. And that's just how I see it. So I'm going to just sit on the Bitcoin for a while. Once I see it going parabolic again, those huge swings, that's when I'd be looking to jump into the alts, because that money's going to flow into the alts. But we need to be very selective over the alts we choose, because a lot of them are getting trash, and the market is very very competitive. So not all of them are going to make it. So I really like Tron. I see a bright future for them because of the whole Web 3.0. I think people are looking for a better internet, newer internet, something that's not as centralized, because right now everything's stored on servers in the cloud owned by specific companies, and it's not decentralized. If it moved to the blockchain, then the application, whatever it is, your music hosting, your Amazon, eBay, what have you, would be decentralized and be on all the time. It wouldn't be focused to one server farm or one city, one state. It would be everywhere. Another thing that about blockchain that I think is going to be really popular going forward are these supply chains. This one, VeChain, is looking really good, and this will probably be the first major public use case, real use case of blockchain, where blockchain really shines, and that's supply chain, where these companies can track their inventories, and where they go from place to place to place, from warehouse to warehouse. They can track it via the blockchain and cut down on all the human error that's involved with it. I love how these sites now are having these really cool videos. They're like little short commercials. Yeah, so it's a trend I'm seeing across all of the cryptocurrency websites. But anyway, moving on to Monkcoin. So Monkcoin is going to have a swap. Right now, they took a snapshot of the database. Can you call it a database? No, the ledger. Databases are centralized. Ledgers are decentralized. So they took a snapshot of everyone's coins, and when they released a new wallet, you can import your keys into the new wallet, and then voila, you'll have your new coins in the new wallet. So there's a page on the steps on how to do it, because right now they're in the middle of it. It was supposed to be released Wednesday. The wallet's not out yet. But if you guys that follow me for the Monkcoin stuff, I'll post this link in the description as well. And there was one other thing. A couple of people have been asking me about credit cards, because my last video I talked about I bought Bitcoin via a credit card using CoinMama. And the deal with credit cards is, yes, banks are preventing people to buy with credit cards. The reason why I can do it is because I'm using an ATM card. The banks look at ATM card as different. They look at it as cash because the money's there, like a prepaid card. What they don't want is they don't want you to buy Bitcoin or crypto on credit. And I wouldn't advise you do that anyway. That's pretty bad practice. The credit card companies, if you find a bank that lets you use credit card or buy on credit, they're going to treat it as a cash advance. And with a cash advance, you pay a hefty fee for that, and they start charging you interest immediately. So you need to be really careful when it comes to using a credit card. I would highly advise against doing that. But that's the deal. So if you want to find out, your best bet is to call your bank and see what their policies are regarding buying Bitcoin. And just, to add to that, I'm pretty sure you can't buy stocks with credit either, and they're treating Bitcoin the same way. So that's the deal on that. That's it for tonight. I don't think there's anything else going on. Nothing else I really wanted to talk about. Yeah, so the Winklevoss ETF getting denied is really not a big deal when you look at the big picture and realize there's a dozen more of these proposals coming from more established financial institutions that the SEC still has to look at, and they came forward and said they just didn't like the one that the Winklevoss twins gave them. They didn't like the way it was worded. They felt it was it leaves a lot of room for fraud and possible manipulation. So that's the story with that. So that is it. I'm hoping you're staying profitable, and have a great day. See you on the next video.